Welcome back to the Learning the Elements of Design through Illustrator for Digital Art. In the last video, we talked about the 3D and materials panel, just the object section, and in this video, we're going to talk about the materials and the lighting sections, and finishing up this main centipede body. I'm pretty happy with the way that my little centipede guy looks there. So let's go on to materials. Base materials is the default. That's what you see here. But you can also look at a variety of other materials. You should know that using 3D in general is going to make your computer slow down a little bit, and adding a material to it will make it slow down even more. So we can play around a little bit with what this looks like before we decide what we want to do. And as you look down below, you'll see that there are some options here as well. Different materials are going to give you different options. Sometimes you'll have the ability to change the color. So if I wanted to, say, just make this one completely cyan. You could play around with any or all of these settings to see what they do, but I won't necessarily go through them. I'll just let you explore them by yourself. And then at the end, you'll have lighting. This is the last thing. It controls where the light is coming from. So what you're seeing is standard, meaning the light is coming from somewhere around the upper right of the object. You can change it to go to the upper left. You can change it to come directly from the right. Or you can diffuse it, meaning it's kind of coming from an indirect source. You could change the color of the light. I don't really want to change the color of the light, but just to show you what it does, if I make it green, so the light that's coming onto my centipede is green, it will change the way that it looks. I'll keep mine at white. More options here. You can make the light brighter, which will make your object look lighter. You can change the direction of the light manually. You can change the height of the light. And you can make it more or less soft, which doesn't seem to do anything for my specific object. Ambient light basically means that we are assuming there's other lights in the room. If there are not other lights in the room, then it will make the backside look very dark. And lastly, you can change the intensity. There is an option to change the shadows, but for our purposes, I'm not going to go over that. The last thing that you could look at, and I'm just going to explain it and not actually do it, is render with ray tracing. And let me explain to you why and what that means. Rendering is the process that draws scene models, materials, and lights and turns them into pixels. So if I was to click on that, it would make it look, in just a minute, because it does take a minute, a little bit less polished. And if I zoom in a bit, you can see that it actually does look pixelated. And that's what the process does. Now, if I was to come in here and take a look, I could add quality to it, but I don't really need to because I'm not going to be really doing anything with this design except keep it in Illustrator, which is a vector program and not a pixel program. So I'm going to turn that off and not worry about it. Again, as I mentioned, this is a very new function in Illustrator, so it runs a little slow, and whenever you run 3D effects in general, it may slow down your computer, so please keep that in mind. So I am happy with this first shape that I've turned into a form. You may notice that you still have your outlines, which means that you can still, if I was to come in here, I can still change the shape, which is a really cool function that Illustrator adds. I should also add that I can take this and I can do some turning and changing in the same way that I could do it down here. And as you finish up a shape, it might be good for me to show you your value scale. Now I did specifically choose this color because it responds to one of the value scales that we created. Notice how you've got all these different values within your form. A good form is going to have a range of values. So you'll see the pure color right in here in the lightest areas. And then of course you have lighter colors that aren't in your value scale. But you also have the darker colors. This color is seen right in here. And the second darkest color might be the darkest color you see. Actually, yeah, right in between these two colors. It's not necessary for you to create a value scale in order to make a form, but it is good to understand that you need to have a range of values when you make forms. All right, that concludes what we're doing for this video. Go ahead and if you're doing this caterpillar, do that first shape. If you're doing your own, finish up your first shape. And if you can't figure something out that you're trying to do, you might watch the next couple of videos to see if they help you with a technique that I'm going to cover in the coming videos. Either way, I will see you in the next video.